Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for yet another conversation where Charles and I have talked with just about everybody in the franchise community. If we haven't, comment below and we'll add you to the discussion. Today, we're going along the path of franchisor and franchisee like we have been doing. Mike King, who's a franchisee with Workout Anytime, and Mark Gorter, who is with corporate, is going to share their stories. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us today. Mark, I want to start with you. Being in Georgia, I'm sure you can provide some great insights on what it's like to now be in the shoes of navigating the reopening. But generally speaking, we'd love to know how things are going in your world, how you're navigating this, what's going on.
Sure, and Nick, Charles, thanks for inviting us in. We woke up on April 24th to be essentially ground zero of what was happening really across the country in a lot of different ways. First, Georgia, of course, was the first state to open up for business, and health clubs being one of those businesses that was cited as, being kind of a risky business, certainly within that context. And we have done actually quite a bit of planning for that time period leading up to it. So when we finally got the green light, we felt that we were absolutely prepared. We had an entire playbook, about a 40-page playbook that we had developed for all the franchise partners throughout the network on everything from cleaning to billing to marketing to management to, everything that was part of these requirements. And frankly, we exceeded the CDC and OSHA requirements for what we needed to do. Despite that, certainly it was an interesting day. I wrote a post that it was probably the most unique and peculiar day of my career because, the whole country was frankly looking at us. And my phone was blowing up with media from all over the state, whether it be television, online, or whatever, wanting to talk about what we were doing with kind of a slant that, how dare you open up, and it's irresponsible. But we had done our homework, and we felt that certainly the challenge, and I think the challenge that everybody's facing, is threading the needle between these two really, really important things. On one hand, making sure that you've got the safety and health of your employees and your constituents and your members in the community in mind, and the other being, the need to restart business and get people back to work. And that continuum existed at a level that we felt threading the needle at that time was in the favor of opening up. We certainly hold the health and safety of our employees and our members at the highest regard, but at the same time, we felt that we had done our homework. We had put in place every physical distancing application. We were going every third treadmill in the gym to provide enough space. We were making sure that we had personal spray bottles that we had given out to every member when they came in, and then when they left, they would put it on a to be clean table that then would be clean for the next group. We had staff that was going beyond conspicuous cleaning. We eliminated the locker room and the showers and really try to keep it going. And the feedback that we got from our members was tremendous. In many cases, they were just grateful to have a place to go to after, 3-4 weeks of being, in some form of isolation. And as we all know, fitness and health clubs are important to help rebuild immune systems and really kind of address a lot of the ills that we were seeing through this virus. So we went into it with our eyes wide open. We had a great game plan, we thought. We knew that it was a very emotional issue on both sides, but felt that we had done our due diligence and had everything in place to ensure that our members and our employees would be safe.
Appreciate that opening, Mark. And Mike, I want to swing over to you. Tell us what's going on in your business. And then obviously, if you can provide some color on seeing a leadership team like you have at Workout Anytime help guide you through this. What has it been like to be a franchisee during this time?
Well, it's obviously something that no one's really used to. We've never gone through this before. And it's been a difficult situation to handle just because you want to, as Mark said earlier, you want to be safe. You want to be able to provide a safe environment for the members, and you want them to feel safe. I mean, we're in the health club business, all right? So we focus on people's health or on their health. However, this COVID pandemic, it's throwing a curveball at us where we want people to, be healthy, but at the same time, does that mean our gym should be open? Should they be closed? It goes back and forth, and what I found with it has been being a franchisee, it's been great to work for Workout Anytime with this, is because, as we're trying to deal with this every day. New information's coming out with what we should and shouldn't be doing, and should you wear a mask, should you not wear a mask, and there's things change on a regular basis. The Workout Anytime franchise group, Mark the Gorter, Steve and John, they've been working hours, 24 hours a day, and they've been updating us with, each state's different, and they're doing a great job navigating through this, so that we can get all the proper information. We don't give out the wrong information, and most importantly, give it to our staff. Our members are consistently calling. We have staff there, like our North Carolina locations are currently closed. And but we've had staff there the entire time, just like our normal hours, from 9 a.m. to about 7 p.m., 6 days a week. And really what we've been doing outside of, the deep cleaning, and we have cleaned that club like it is. There's not a germ anywhere in there. But most importantly, has been able to answer phones, talk to any members that may show up to ask questions, and respond to emails and social medias. We've been doing the best that we possibly can with staying extra engaged with our members during all of this, just to communicate with what we're doing and, what our plans are for when we do open, so that they can feel safe and comfortable. And as I was saying, Mark has been sending us emails every single day, and they're very long, lengthy, and informative emails for us to know what's going on and updates. And, every day the updates change. And by him doing that, we've been able to keep up with what we should be doing and what's working and what's not working, to make sure that we can deliver an excellent product for these people when we are back open. They can feel safe coming in. One of my locations, it was unfortunate. We were about to grand open April 1st. It was under construction. We built it up. We were so excited for April 1st to open, and then boom, this pandemic hit, and we had to, cancel the grand open. That's in Tennessee. Well, Tennessee just opened up as allowing gyms to open as of May. We grand opened that location this past Monday, and Mark's been giving us updates on the Georgia locations because they've been open before us. I was wondering too. I know we are following all the clean procedures that we could possibly do, and I know it's a safe environment, but it's not what we think; it's what the members feel and how do they feel safe coming in. And this past week is, just these last 3 days, we're selling so many memberships, and we're getting so many workouts, and we're able to still maintain that 6 foot social distance. The members are ecstatic about being open. They need to get out. They need to be healthy. They want to be safe at the same time. And, working with Workout Anytime, Mark's given me that 40-page playbook on what we need to do to be prepared for this. And I can tell you that there's nowhere safer than our facilities right now. They are just spotless clean. And then not only that, we're keeping up with the cleanliness. One thing that we're doing in Tennessee is, Workout Anytime is a 24-hour gym, but typically we don't staff people in the evening. We typically, lock the door at 9 o'clock and use your key card to get in. Something that's unique to me, but we're having staff work overnight, 24 hours now, so that we always have someone there at all times to be able to, sanitize people's hands as they walk in, teach them about what we're doing for social distancing, making sure that the machines are being deep cleaned after every exercise and every workout. And just to make sure that they feel safe and comfortable. And we've had a tremendous response from people. It's all been positive. We've had a few people that, are, of that age range where they say is at a higher risk. They froze their memberships, and that's absolutely fine. And we totally understand that. And we'll be here ready for them when they feel comfortable to come back in.
Mark, in many ways, you hopefully represent the future in terms of the nation opening up and decisions by leadership. And I appreciate the emotional aspect of, you called it threading the needle between safety and the need to open up. What emotionally as a leader, how did you feel that first day when the switch turned back on?
Well, we were confident that we had done everything that we needed to do. Because like I said, we had been planning for this for 3 weeks, going back and forth and making sure that we understood not only what the CDC, actually our goal was to actually exceed what the requirements were. We were confident that we had a facility that could deliver a safe, sanitized, clean, and disinfected experience. The unknown was, of course, the reaction of the community. And as you know, this was a highly charged issue. The people that were on the don't open side, frankly, were very, very emotionally focused on that, more so than the people that were on the open side. The people on the open side were grateful, but it wasn't quite the ethereal feeling. So we had some real concerns about how the community was going to respond. In fact, in many cases, we had some clubs that didn't open up on the first day because they wanted to see how that would go. But what we found very quickly was that in opening and making sure that we delivered that level of safety and sanitation, the negative reaction of it subsided after a couple of days. And that was overwhelmed by the positive feedback we got from our members and everybody else that wanted to come in and work out. So it was a little tricky at first because, as Mike said, there ain't no playbook for this one. We had to create it ourselves. And certainly when you're talking about the horrific side of what this virus has done, we had to make sure that that we were aware of that and we were empathetic and supportive. And that was actually, Charles, one of the biggest things that we were coaching on was, we've got a business that's staffed predominantly by younger people. And in many cases, we had to do quite a bit of coaching on how to actually conduct yourself coming back. Humor probably isn't a good thing to do because, people were being personally affected by this. So we had to coach on empathy. We had to coach on using good judgment. We had to coach on making sure that we were discreet. And we've even had that now. I mean, back at this point, we're opening to some conditions, one of which is to take temperatures through temporal thermometers. And the idea is, what happens if somebody comes in and they've got a fever? You can't just yell out, this person can't come into the gym, because first of all, it's disrespectful, but more importantly, everybody behind them now thinks that they may be infected. So we had a whole protocol of how to move someone over to the side and bring on a senior person to have that discussion with them and really make sure that we were doing that. So it really took our coaching on a subjective EQ level to a much greater, deeper degree than we've ever had to face before. And I think that's probably the biggest experience and advice I could give to the people out there is you're going to have to make sure that your conflict resolution protocol is in place, well understood, and well executed through role playing, because you'll have a member that basically thinks that this is a joke and why are we doing all this? And you'll at the other end have a member who's very, very sensitive to it. And when that conflict comes up, how are you going to adjudicate that conflict in a way that is sensitive and empathetic and make sure everybody knows that we're first and foremost here for your safety? So it introduced a whole level of coaching that previously we hadn't really had to encounter up to this point.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, the reality is there's basically three types of groups as we navigate this. We have those that are comfortable and are going to continue to live the lives that they want. They've made the decision that, it is what it is. I'm going to deal with it. You have the middle group that is cautious, but understands life goes on. And then you have the bottom group that is like, absolutely not. I'm staying away from it. Mike, what I've noticed as I've talked with other businesses is two things. One, everybody's seeking leadership right now. And I would imagine if you go back to when this whole thing starts, you were probably doing the same, looking around, looking at the franchisor to give you the leadership. And the second thing that business owners seem to be looking for is indicators that we have a shot at coming back. And coming back might not go all the way immediately to what we were, say, in February or January or December, but we're looking for indicators. And what I heard out of you is enthusiasm about members saying, enough is enough. I'm ready to get back to the gym. Can you talk about a little bit more into like what type of leadership you were seeking to make you feel comfortable as a business owner? And then secondly, how other businesses that are navigating this and thinking about reopening, that maybe it might be a dim light, but there's a light at the end of this tunnel.
Absolutely. I think the first thing that was so important for me to learn was to not be reactionary, to pump the brakes before I make a decision, and to really think about all the different variables in there. And what that meant was, reaching out to every franchisee that I possibly could, even ones that I don't have a relationship with, seeking their numbers. And it was great. We've all, whether it's they were with Workout Anytime, I've talked to people that were with other brands out there that, we become one family, and we've all communicated. We're on group text message, we're on group emails, and, we've all got to be open-minded and realize that, you know what, I keep hearing people say the word new normal. I don't like that. There is no new normal. We're going to have to get this back to normal to be to the way it was before, but obviously with a more of a focus on cleanliness and health. But as an owner, I have to be completely 100% confident in the decisions that I make. And to do that, I can't be reactionary. I have to pause, think about it, research it, confirm that it's the right thing to do, and get feedback from other people before I roll it out, because my staff is, my management team, my staff and everyone is looking up at me, wanting the perfect answer, and, what direction are we going, and how's this gonna affect us? Are we gonna recover? Or, you hear every question. And same thing, I look up to, Mark and Steve and John, and I look up to the ladder, and, I look for them for, advice. And we all have to work together. There's no such thing as titles at this point. We're all, I take feedback from members. I take feedback from my frontline staff, and I take feedback from from managers. And it really just is pumping the brakes. And, as Mark said, a lot of coaching. I know that our members are going to go right to our staff first and foremost. I'm not there. I can't duplicate myself to have a conversation with every member. So our staff has to feel confident and understand the direction we're going. What's our cleaning procedures? Is it safe? What are we doing? They have to have all the information and not have any questions in their mind, and so they can feel confident. And whether they think it's, as Mark said, there's no humor. This isn't a time for humor. Whether you think this virus is overblown, or if it's as bad as it is, or whatever your stance is as an employer, we have to take a neutral stance and just always fall on the side of caution and realize that we just need to be 100% safe for these members, and the members have to feel it. It's not what we say; it's how they feel about it, and that's pretty much it as far as that goes. Just confidence.
Mike, I mean, you said so many amazing things there, right? I mean, just even with it's not what we say, but how they feel. And I agree. We should ban the word new normal. In fact, you should be ejected from the country. You use the word new normal from here on out, right? So what, Mike, people that are going to listen to this are other franchisors, franchisees, and people that down the line are going to be looking to buy franchises, no matter what the industry is. And what I appreciate about these conversations, franchisor, franchisee, when you see amazing leadership, you see it happen at the franchisor level and the franchisee, it works together. I love your statement about titles don't matter right now. But even listening to Mark in terms of the EQ focus, the playbook focus, there's like a lot of thoughtful considerations there and a lot of leadership level items. Mike, if you went back in time when you made the decision to buy onto the franchise, to become a part of the team, what were the factors what was that emotional EQ factor that let you know, hey, this is the right team? And now, as you look back, how does that validate those thoughts?
Absolutely. I've been in the industry for a very long time, and prior to working with Workout Anytime. So, of course, I had my biased thoughts of what brands were good, what ones were not good. And I did my research. I did my due diligence, and I studied multiple franchises and multiple gyms. And I picked Workout Anytime simply because of consistency and support. There's a lot of brands out there that just say, hey, we're going to take your royalty fee, and here's our brand, and you can use it. And I picked Workout Anytime because I believed in the support that they were going to give. And it didn't just come from the leadership, because I didn't know them back then. I went club to club, and I talked to other owners and other franchisees that are with Workout Anytime, and they validated that, nope, I've had a lot of support. And it's the best decision I've ever made, simply because of, let's look at the COVID-19 that we're dealing with right now. I wouldn't know which way to navigate, left, or do I turn left or I turn right with this situation. They've provided so much support to me to what direction to go. And they built such a strong brand with a lot of franchises that our brand name is now, when we go into a community, they've heard of us and they know that we're going to back up what we say. When we say, my tagline is, we're going to be known for friendliness and cleanliness. Always been that since day one. And my whole goal has always been, come to my gym in 3 years. Sure, when I open, it's going to be brand new and shiny. It's going to look clean. It's going to be beautiful. Come in our gyms in 3 years from now, and will you say the same? And I'm proud to say you absolutely can, or you absolutely will. You'll walk into one of my first locations, and it looks the same as it did when we got there. And that goes for Workout Anytime in general. I can go to Workout Anytimes that are not my location, and they are clean as can be, and they live up to the brand. It's consistent across the board. I don't care which location you go into, you're going to get a very similar experience. So, this has been, for such a bad situation we're in right now. I think we're navigating it the best we possibly can.
I mean, those are the statements that I think end up defining a brand later on. As a franchise buyer, you're relying on validation and other franchisees to say whether or not the franchisor supports you. And it's interesting because there will be folks that watch this with a sense of jealousy and say, my franchisor told me that they would support me. They were not here as we got through this. One thing that I've noticed, even in myself, as I've figured out a way to navigate this for our business, is I'm trying to lean on scaffolding of past experiences to try to have some sense of what is it like to pivot or adjust in those situations and apply it to current time. Mark, I would love just insight into how you got to the point of navigating this. And, frankly, from where I sit, I see a depth of experience from you and the rest of the executive team in the club industry, whether it's a Bally's that goes from giant box down to small box, the reality, you're in a category that has been punched in the gut plenty of times and has found its way. But are you able to rely on some of those past navigations? It's not COVID, but your career to say, yeah, we're going to get through it. It might look different, but I know at least a blueprint on how I can navigate this.
Yeah, well, I've been in this business, obviously for quite many years. And there have been times in the past where we've been subject to a lot of challenges from public relations and press and things like that. But frankly, there's nothing that could have prepared us, regardless of the industry, for what we had to encounter over the last couple of months. I think for me personally, the biggest experience that I was able to draw on was back in 9/11, and I was running a company then, and we had a lot of the same issues. There was shock, there was fear, there was the feeling that your life was going to change forever. And in many cases, businesses just shut down. It wasn't your typical recession where there's a trend and it's a business cycle. This was something that just came out of the blue. And I tend to subscribe to that old adage, adversity doesn't build character, it reveals it. And I think for Workout Anytime, we've been blessed, and I feel privileged that it's not just the leadership team. I mean, the whole team here at the Sports Center has done an amazing job of stepping up and providing the commitment and the attitude and the stick-to-itiveness and not giving up that I think is inherent in the character of the people that work here. And I think what was really amazing is, unlike other crises in the past, the stuff that we were able to achieve was all for the most part done remotely. So we were able to communicate. We communicated multiple times daily through, Zoom or Teams or whatever virtual platform that we had. But there was a tremendous sense of commitment to one another throughout the organization. And I think that's really what allowed us to get on top of it and really become, the training group that we needed to do. Franchise companies are really, we like to say that, we're a training company disguised as a health club company, because we know that the training and education element of our business, aside from a unique brand, is really the most important thing. And we were, as Mike said, we made up our mind very early on that we needed to communicate every day. So I had a daily update that I would send out every day with everything from, here's how you apply for your PPP loan. Here are some of the challenges that you're going to face with. Here are some of the issues relative to PPE equipment and sourcing that, what we were doing there, because our feeling was our franchise partners were consumed with what was going on in their local market, making sure that they were addressing real estate issues with their landlords, making sure that they were in touch with their members and their employees so their employees would come back. And we wanted to provide that kind of air cover on all that other stuff so that they wouldn't have to worry about that. They would have the information that they needed. They could react on the experience of 180 gyms across the country and all those franchise partners, but at the same time, really concentrate on the things that they needed to do. And we believe really that's the difference between a franchise organization and someone that perhaps would want to go it alone. I mean, I would imagine that if Mike didn't have the support that the franchise group here was providing and he was dealing with all this stuff simultaneously, it'd be a much different challenge for him. And I think that that's part of what the team here really prides ourselves on, is making sure that we provide that leadership and direction. We're decisive and we can step up when our franchise partners need us. And as I said, I'm just privileged that we've got a team here that gets up every morning with that as their single-minded focus on what they do.
Mark, do you feel like, I mean, you talked about a new level of coaching. I mean, I certainly believe in your point about adversity reveals character. And I don't even know if this is a question, but as you're speaking, I mean, you can't fake any of this. And what I find amazing is how good leadership really decides the direction of a franchise. And I think in many ways, the things that you and Mike are talking about sort of form that playbook that we're all going to be forming as we reopen. And from my perspective, sure, everyone's going to be talking about cleaning and following CDC guidelines. But what I'm hearing from both of you is a really emotional response of how our customers feel, right? Forget about what we say, focus on what they feel, focus on the emotion of the situation. And that, to me, I think is a big learning point for all brands, right? As we navigate out of this, because I think it could get lost, but I think thoughtful leadership should be focused on that emotion.
Well, it's interesting. One of the beauties of being in this industry for as long as I have is, I don't know of a more purpose-driven business than one could take on as a career. I mean, we get up every day as an industry and change people's lives. And that's our mission. And that's what we do every day. And we tend to attract people that take that challenge to heart and really derive tremendous personal satisfaction from being able to see people who would come in and say, I can't touch my toes, when I joined, and now I'm walking up 3 flights of stairs, skipping stairs at a time, and I can play with my grandkids, and I never thought I'd ever see my grandkids. So that intrinsic feeling that I think this industry brings to their work every day is what allows you to take on these challenges when they come up and have the ability to overcome them. Not that we're any special people. I just think that, our approach to solving problems with individuals and enhancing their life as what we do every day makes that part of the challenge a lot easier to address than maybe other industries. I don't know. I think that everybody in every industry, has the sense of wanting to deliver for their customer. We're just lucky enough to see the fruits of that every day through our members.
As we take the final spin around the block, Mike, I want to start with you. Just final thoughts on how you're going to continue winning this battle.
The main thing is over communication is a great thing right now. Over communicate to your staff. Like I said earlier, make sure they feel comfortable in their role and they can answer all the questions, since there are frontline people that the members are going to be speaking to. And as we said, ban the word new normal, continue to drive sales and keep members engaged. I think that we're going to go right back to the way we used to be. However, we're going to do it with a more of a focus on cleanliness and people's health. When that goes, we've always been clean, we've always sanitized, but we're putting that much more focus on it now than we ever have before. And our members appreciate it and they feel comfortable. And I can't say thank you enough to Mark and the executive team at Workout Anytime for that playbook. to be able just the PPP and all that other stuff. I mean, it was a Rubik's cube, and no one really could understand it. And they've taken so much pressure off of us as franchisees to be able to do what we do best, which is boots on the ground and stay engaged with our members during this process instead of being dug, our faces into our computers, researching how to get all these, loans and assistance. So thank you to the Workout Anytime team for, taking some stuff off our plate, which was so important for us. And I'm confident in the brand, and I'm confident that this industry is going to bounce right back. I don't know immediately how fast, but I feel like it's going to bounce right back in no time. And I just had a conversation, right before this call with another person in the industry, but not with Workout Anytime, that is considering becoming a franchisee. And, he said, is this a good time to open up a gym right now, or should I be scared? I said, green light. And I say it with confidence because I know that, America, we're coming together, and we're going to be healthy together. And this is a great brand, and we're going to do a great job with it.
Love it. Charles, final thoughts?
Yeah, if someone can watch this and decode it for what creates a successful brand, there's so many things here. It really starts with purpose, leadership, and great franchisees. And I think this exemplifies a lot of that. And I think, this is a small part of the pieces to the puzzle as everyone reopens. So Mark and Mike, as a fellow citizen, I thank both of you for leading the charge. I think it's great stuff.
Mark, final thoughts?
A couple things, actually. Well, first, I've got to give kudos to Mike. Not only did he run into COVID from his business and interrupt all of that, but the guy was set to get married in April, and that whole thing got postponed. So I think this challenge has kind of addressed him in a lot of different ways, and he's the soldier that he is. He's been able to rise above it and keep his business going. A couple things. I just got off of a call before this one with our regional management team, because our goal was to try and predict or reforecast what the business is going to look like over the next 120 days and through the end of the year. And I was inspired by talking to them, and each of which have their own groups of clubs they talk to. And they were all taking a very positive, upbeat approach that, there's going to be challenges, but they weren't talking about the 30% of pre-crisis revenue that so many people have been instilling out there. They're ready to go. They're excited. They're focused, and they're very optimistic and positive. And again, I think that speaks to the character of the people that we're fortunate to have. But the one thing we've learned from all of this is, health clubs traditionally have been, for the most part, especially in our space, which is the high value, low price space, pretty transactional. We put equipment out there and we charge those prices, and we tend to focus mostly on that and take for granted that clubs are clean. We've come to the realization that a clean, sanitized club will become the new value-added service in our industry with which people will be willing to pay more money for. Whereas before it may have been, taken for granted or an afterthought. The club that does the best job of providing that for their members and creating a sense of trust and delivering against that is now going to have an additional thing in their portfolio that they can leverage from a marketing standpoint to build their brand. So we've gone in that direction. We believe it's here to stay. We believe it's elevated itself to a point of importance. And we've always been focused on member satisfaction. We believe this is just going to be one more of those things for us.
Appreciate that. And my final thoughts, three quick bullet points. One is, I think the most important thing for a franchise buyer to hear is when asking a franchisee, would you do this again? And the answer is yes. So when Mike says green light in the middle of this, that shows the depth of the brand that exists here. So if you want to find a horse to pick to win the race, it looks like this is pretty well set up. Secondly, I had the privilege of being a speaker at Workout Anytime's conference last year, and my message was all about mindset is your choice. And you can see that a franchise owner like Mike is making the decision that this is his choice, how he's going to react and respond to it. That I hope that all business owners take that approach. There are things that are in control. COVID might not be in our control, but we can control the mindset and what's in our heart and how we're going to navigate this thing. And that's going to carry weight as we try to figure out, is this a year from now? Is it 2 years from now? Is it 2 months from now? That mindset's going to become deeply valuable. And then lastly, for anybody that's watching at home, the thing I love most about Mike's backdrop is, if you look carefully, there's a Chicago Bears football up there in the corner, and that's going to be the next NFL team to win the Super Bowl post-COVID. I'm calling it right now. So
Mike happy.
Appreciate you guys. Appreciate the story. Yet another franchisor and franchisee sharing their journey. And again, wish you guys the best of luck as you continue to navigate this thing.
Nick, Charles, thanks for your time. Really appreciate spending time with you today.
Take care, gentlemen.
All right. Bye-bye.